At Vibe Aesthetics and Wellness, we believe confidence isn't just how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 9.
Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into Mississippi Live at 9. A few rumbles out there for some, but those storms dying out before better rain chances push in by the weekend. That's what we're going to be discussing, is the latest on those rain chances and how that carries out not just through the weekend, but through the entire 7-day stretch, because we do have chances every single day. Now, some higher than others, but the highest on the list is actually on our Saturday, and we are expecting within those rain chances some heavy downpours are possible. And with that could include a localized flash flooding threat. We're also going to expect some rumbles of thunder as well, but the coverage is still scattered, so that means hit or miss rainfall is on the table, and that means some of us going to be happy, others disappointed. And I'm really hoping the Maynard household is not the disappointed side of things. Nonetheless, we're getting some much needed rainfall for sure, and that's going to be a positive. But what we're covering in Mississippi Live News, our Emily Leonard discussing cutting court costs. Who? Where? Well, she'll have the very latest for us coming up in Mississippi Live News in just a moment. Let's look at the first 12. 10% chance still out there. Included in that 10%, some brief heavy rainfall and some rumbles of thunder. A story as old as time. And we're getting that once again throughout our 9 to 10 o'clock hour. Those starting to dissipate out overnight, but early hours of our Saturday seeing that 10% start to literally trickle in. But it's really going to build towards the afternoon with those heavy downpours once again possible. And perhaps a stronger storm at times can't be ruled out completely. We are 79 degrees in Greenwood. I combine the green and grease and all that. It's Friday, everybody. We're wrapping up the work week. Nonetheless, Greenwood, an area that got plentiful amounts of rainfall. Kosciuszko, similar, getting that abundant rainfall, and it is going to continue to be a drier night from where things sat this afternoon. But nonetheless, it is going to be a forecast we need to pay attention to continuing into our weekend. Starkville, 73 degrees, though, feeling like 68. That's telling you rain-cooled air is in the pattern, and that's why those temperatures are feeling phenomenal. That's why the feels like values are even better. And that's because that's what the rain-cooled air will do. And so far, those rainfall totals really amounting to a good bit out there towards Greenwood and Leflore County. As we extend along 82, some scattered showers here and there, but really it's all across the North Mississippi coverage area as we get a half inch here, a half inch there. Those brief periods of heavy rainfall, they do add up to a decent chunk, but you see that heaviest section about 2 inches right there in Leflore County. So not complaining one bit about that. West of 61 there in Hollandale, about 2 inches in spots as well. Getting better rain chances towards our Saturday and adding to those totals as we speak. Now we talk about that storm down there towards Starkville. We're still at about 228 strikes total for the North Mississippi coverage area. That focuses there in Oktibbeha County and even towards Marion County, getting additional thunderstorm development. We're going to continue to track that out on our Mama Justice Doppler radar here in just a moment, but we're not out of the woods just yet with those rain chances. That's what that 10% represents. While it is a minimal coverage, it can definitely still be impactful. So looking at the broader scale, that frontal boundary that was producing all of these severe storms earlier on this week and into our Friday afternoon starting to dissipate out, and it never fully moves into North Mississippi. So that's why overnight, rain chances not that abundant, despite out in Arkansas, out in Missouri, a little bit more of an active pattern. We do see our next weather maker up there towards Iowa. I say next weather maker, not specifically for us, because that frontal boundary never fully moves into our region. And I'm grateful it's not, because it is producing some severe weather up there in southern Iowa. So saying a prayer for folks that are being impacted by that. But we are grateful here in North Mississippi that what we're talking about is primarily just rainfall and lightning. While that might result in a few power outages, it's not going to be damaging. At least it has not been damaging so far here in North Mississippi. You can see Futurecast really overdoing those rain chances down there towards the Jackson metro area and up north, closer to Neshoba County and just south of Atala County. But additional chances remain possible getting into our 10 o'clock hour before those do dissipate out. Now, let's talk Futurecast for a moment. Let's actually go back one slide here, and I might break the system, but I think it's worthwhile. Look in Jackson. What are all of these rain chances doing? Fizzling out. not going to be impactful for too much longer. So as we go through those slides again, I apologize. We're not seeing a ton of activity down in Jackson. Now watch Futurecast. What do you see in Jackson? A ton of action. This is what I was talking about with models having to get a grasp on these rain chances. And I think as those models come out more and more, we're going to get a better grasp. Not doing the best job with that for those overnight rain chances. So watch how these showers and storms down in Jackson start to move into our area. Well, there's no showers or storms that are happening down in Jackson. So that's why I'm not overly sold on those rain chances towards 1, 2, 3 o'clock. I really have us staying dry during those overnight hours. But as we get more towards 4 or 5 o'clock, we start to get additional development along the Mississippi River, more towards Arkansas, eventually trying to move across the state line, but never fully reaching that point. Now, all of this activity down towards Yazoo City and Canton, I'm still not sold on that potential just yet. Do I think showers and storms are possible? Yes. But to that coverage, to that extent, with how things stand right now and the storms that they're trying to fire off in Jackson, I'm not sold on that necessarily because it's just trying to get a grasp on those rain chances. But out west into Arkansas, all of that weather maker, that frontal boundary, what's left of it, that's going to try to get into North Mississippi. And I would say that's where our best chances lie, right along the river towards Shelby, towards Greenville, even up there towards Tunica. But by lunchtime, watch how these storms start to bubble up. That's what we're going to get more and more as we head into those Saturday afternoon plans. So coverage-wise, we're 10 to 20% throughout the morning hours. By the afternoon, 30 to 40% coverage. So if you have plans on Saturday, your best chance to see rainfall with those plans is during the afternoon. So earlier in the day, better chances. But one thing we're going to do a little bit more in the coming moments is going to dissect Futurecast a little bit more and see where those storm chances stand. And we're going to pull up our strike model because I think it's going to be worthwhile. While the HRRR model is really overdoing those rain chances, we'll look at another high-resolution model to get a better grasp on where things stand. But I do still believe afternoon is going to be your best chance to see rainfall. But coming up in the next 60 seconds, we're talking all things Mississippi Live news. Cutting court costs, that's going to be a positive. Our Emily Leonard going to be joining us to track that out. And beyond news, we're looking at that forecast in much more detail and those rain chances for your weekend. So keep it here for the very latest.
We need to open up a business account for our new business. Some friends and business owners recommended First Choice. Ever since we opened up our account, we love First Choice. They treat you like family instead of a number.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham & Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham & Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Dust off your favorite shotgun and sign up for the Natchez Trace Council Clay Classic. Call 662-842-2871 or visit natcheztracecouncil.org.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this Friday night. I'm Emily Leonard. Some new technology is saving time and money in Union County. Missed court dates cost, and they add up quickly. $50 to $75 per extra summons. So Chancery Court Clerk Annette Hickey has fixed that with some new technology. Here she is next to her Neat board. It is a mobile video conferencing system for Chancery and Youth Court. And here's how it works. People who are sick, live out of state, or otherwise just can't make it in person can join by phone through a Zoom room, as she calls it, so the cases don't get delayed. Hickey spent 5 years saving for it and ended up paying about $7,000, less than it would have cost years ago. The board also lets attorneys display exhibits for everyone in the courtroom to see at once instead of having to pass papers around. They asked for your help, and you guys answered. The Tupelo Lee Humane Society put out a plea for help. You saw the story here on Mississippi Live Thursday, and you guys really stepped up. Look at this, an outpouring of love and support. Earlier this week, Executive Director Dina Stanford with the Humane Society went live on Facebook showing the dire situation there at the shelter. More than 300 dogs at the shelter, that only holds 160. But they're not done yet. They still need help. They need volunteers, supplies, people willing to adopt or foster. So if you would like more information, you can call 662-205-4221. You can also go to tupelolehumane.org. When a disaster happens, like this one, you can count on two things to happen. Our communities stepping in and stepping up. But you can also find people trying to scam you. January's ice storm may have caused some really bad damage to your roof, especially if you were in the harder hit areas like Tishomingo County. The city of Iuka shared this post from Harold Lomenick with State Farm, who said there are roofing contractors not local to this area claiming to be with State Farm, and they want to look at your roof. This is not a thing. Lomenick says that people will ask to get on your roof and then start a claim on your policy without you knowing or getting your permission. He says State Farm, or any insurance agency, will never send a roofer to look at your roof. If you do have a claim, they will send a licensed adjuster with all of the right identification. So you know we will never bull you here on Mississippi Live. But this time I'm going to. Law enforcement in Pickens County, Alabama were moving fast to keep up with a 1,500-pound escaped artist. There he is, right there near the Pickens Academy. This was Friday. It was a high-stakes game of cat and bull across Highway 17 and back. I'm trying here, guys. The deputies refused to be outsteered. See, these are really good puns. Thanks to some help on horseback, the bull is now back in the pen. Boom, another one. Pickens County deputies and Carrollton police officers have decided to stick with patrol and leave the rodeo to the pros. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live and putting up with all of my antics, my puns. I appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend.
Growing up in a farming community, I've always been fascinated with the weather. But in 2024, my draw to be a mother became stronger.
So I took a step back from my job until Matt gave me a call. Mississippi Live allows me to be fully present at home while also getting to do my dream job as a broadcast meteorologist.
Wake up with me every weekday morning on Mississippi Live.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynor.
So rain chances tell the story through our weekend. Saturday, a little bit more likely, including some rumbles of thunder and brief heavy downpours. Sunday carrying that story, but more limited on the coverage, only about 20% there. That continues into the work week, and we'll see some better chances heading into midweek next week as well. Temperature-wise, pretty consistent, but with the moisture returning, those heat indices definitely going to be climbing, and we'll be back into the triple digits. In fact, some areas still talking about those heat alerts getting into the weekend. High temperatures, 97 degrees Tunica, 97 Cleveland. That was an area that was a little bit drier, but look towards Greenwood, 91 degrees. Kosciuszko, 91. Areas that saw plentiful amounts of rainfall, 91 in Tupelo. No rainfall here, I can guarantee you that. But it is still a slight step back. 80 degrees towards Holly Springs, an area that saw some rainfall as well. And 93 in Starkville, still reaching that peak temperature before that rain really moved in. Yeah, evening showers coming at a cost because by then you've already had the heating of the day, so it's not giving you that relief that you want. Nonetheless, Starkville, our lowest temperature tonight, 73 degrees, 78 Houston, 77 Greenwood, so still enjoying some of that rain-cooled air. And across the region, low to mid-80s, even if you were on the drier side. And those feels like values still in the mid to upper 80s, so that moisture still playing a part in our forecast. Now let's look at our Mama Justice Doppler radar because there are some things to track. Right there towards Hamilton, Alabama, right along 22, and I will say, my wife and I in Cruz, we always drive to see my parents over there in Birmingham, taking 22, and it seems like Hamilton is always the area that we just get hit with the heaviest rainfall. And tonight, that continues to remain true. Let's go ahead and zoom it in on Marion County, I should say. And as we continue over that hour loop, you can see how these have already started to bubble up, looking like it's developing right along a boundary. And with that, I'm looking at this comes some concern for some flash flooding because it's not having a ton of movement to it, but some of those rainfall rates getting a little bit on the higher side. Let's go ahead and toss it to our Mama Justice Doppler radar, our analysis mode, and we'll get to what I was going to show in Jackson in just a moment, but I do think it'll be worthwhile to at least jump up here to Monroe County and track that out. So looking specifically over there in Marion County, I want to look at the rainfall rates because that's going to be something that plays a big factor if there is any of that flash flooding. Early on, not a ton going on, but now towards Pea Ridge, even up there towards Bryn, we're getting some areas that are getting into the heavier side of things. Let me go on the latest scan here so we don't keep seeing the loop. So Pea Ridge, 4.9 inches an hour. I do see one spot there. Yeah, 7.2 inches an hour. That's what I fear is happening. Right along that boundary, it's allowing these to increase in the rainfall rate, which is, of course, increasing how much rainfall they're receiving. Just over the past, what? Let me drag this back over 1 hour. Yeah, we were at 0 entering 8 o'clock. Now as we're at 9:15, 4/10 of an inch. Let me actually go in the heart of this. I do see a few areas where we're talking even heavier amounts. Yeah, 1.1 inches in Pea Ridge with heavy downpour still ongoing, even towards Bryn, 1/2 inch. Hackleburg coming in with about a 1/2 inch as well, actually a little bit above that at 0.6. So unfortunately, I do think that there could be some flash flooding potential. And while you'll say, Gabe, track that out for me, this is the track. It's right overhead for folks there in Marion County with more chances heading into the rest of our night as that boundary remains overhead. Now, I do want to look at that 1 hour loop to see if there is an outflow. It does look like there, let me see, one more scan. Yeah, there you go. So right here, I know it's tough to see, there's a lot going on, but you see that line, that leading edge where it's moving from east to west? That's what these are able to latch onto and really fire off and get going. And it looks like it might have a boundary in and of itself within these showers that's allowing that to continue. But that boundary, as it moves into the state of Mississippi, some additional chances are possible. Similar to what it did in Marion County, just kind of bubbling these up. That potential remains for us out there along the Mississippi and Alabama state line for some additional showers. Let's go on the broader scale real quick. And I do want to look down towards Starkville, where we were getting some of that heavier rainfall earlier on. That has since started to fall apart. And you do see right there in Starkville, and really Oktibbeha County, it's an entirety. See that ring that basically just juts out from that shower and that storm, I guess shower now. That's what we call an outflow boundary. It's that rain-cooled air kind of going out ahead of this, and being that it has produced some showers and storms in Oktibbeha County, and we do have this boundary up here moving into the state of Mississippi. Amory, you look to be the golden opportunity one more time. Similar situation last night where you had those two boundaries coming together in Monroe County. Where is it going to come together once again? Right there in Monroe County. So unfortunately, Amory, Smithville, watching that for you, even up there towards, I would say Moorville, maybe right along the Lee and Itawamba County line. We're watching that for you as those continue to collide together. Now, not everyone is going to see rainfall along these boundaries, but perhaps a shower or storm developing within those two boundaries colliding together. Now let's get into what I was going to be discussing down in Jackson. You noticed at the top of our broadcast how we were covering some storms. At least models were projecting some storms down there south of 82. I see why. And I'm not a believer in what the output was on our model, but watch right here. I mean, we're talking outflow boundaries. That's a theme of our Mama Justice Doppler radar tonight. But you see that dark green line starting to develop right there. What's that? North of 20, right around Ridgeland and extending east closer to Walnut Grove. That's the boundary that's going to continue to extend north. Looks like we have another outflow boundary there. That's right along, what would that be? Highway, oh man, what? So many roads over there in Jackson. I'm trying to get my bearing. So that'd be closer to Highway 18. So that's going to be one that will continue to make its way north. And I think that's what models are trying to get a grasp on. You know, there is that rain chance down there in Jackson with a few pop-up storms within that boundary. I think we're overdoing it with our models, and that is just further confidence. But seeing that on radar helped further reassure me that we were not going to be dealing with those storms overnight. With that being said, let's take a look in Caledonia, where we are dealing with some of that rain-cooled air, that outflow boundary moving overhead. 83 degrees, feeling like 90. So some of those gusty winds along that outflow boundary going to be very much appreciated in northern Lowndes County. Still seeing some stars up there, so not a ton of cloud cover in the sky, and definitely staying on the drier side so far. Now out in Mabin, we talk about that rain-cooled air. 73 degrees over there in, I guess, Webster, Oktibbeha County, right between those two. And those feels like valleys, 68 degrees. Yeah, that's about as good as it gets on a summer night here in North Mississippi. Folks there at Fastnet, I'm sure, are happy to provide you this view in Mabin. And continuing our tour across North Mississippi, we're going to jump up here to Batesville, an area that was just outside some of those showers, 75 degrees. So even there, enjoying some of that rain-cooled air. And We'll all take that during those overnight hours as well. So day planner overnight, not really high on those rain chances. We're not really a fan of where models stand right now, and we'll go over that in case you missed the top of our broadcast. But towards early tomorrow morning, early on our Saturday, those chances start to pop up once again. And really, once we reach that convective temperature into the afternoon, those storms are really going to get firing off. So let's look at our futurecast overnight. And let me say first and foremost, I don't believe this one bit. What I do believe is the positioning of some of these storms. By 10 o'clock, this is that storm near Marion County. Unfortunately, models putting it a little bit too far north, more towards Colbert County and Tishomingo County. But it is doing a good job at maybe putting a few of those showers that could develop along the outflow boundary. Let me say this, though. This is not going to happen. And that's a good thing it's not going to happen because it looks a little bit on the stronger side. So we don't have to worry about those developing overnight, but perhaps a brief downpour, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. That's what we can expect, but not nearly this coverage and definitely not near this strength during those overnight hours and extending more into our pre-dawn hours of our Saturday. While I do expect a few pop-up showers and storms, not expecting this level of coverage. And we'll look at our strike model in just a moment, doing a better job at aligning these rain chances, and that'll give us a better idea of what to expect into the start of our Saturday. I just wanted to show you, I usually trust the HRRR, the wrong one in this setup as we get into the start of our Saturday. Now, during the morning hours of our Saturday, I think it gets a better grasp on some of those rain chances, and we'll look at that with our HRRR and strike model in just a moment. Let's start with the low temperatures on Saturday. 73 Tupelo, Boonville, and Amory. 72 Eupora and Bruce. 74 Cleveland and Clarksdale, even 75 Greenville and South Haven. Let's get into our Saturday. I'm not expecting a ton of action coming out of the south just because it's really overdoing the projections for tonight. So I think we're still overdoing it towards the morning, but right along the Mississippi River is where I would expect a few of those showers to develop, and that will start to bubble up more into North Mississippi. Again, the popcorn popping in North Mississippi, that's what you can expect. That convective temperatures reach, the microwaves going, and that popcorn has now popped. The kernel has popped, and that's what we're getting by early afternoon, with more of that continuing to develop by mid to late afternoon, including a few heavier downpours, maybe a stronger storm or two. I do expect those winds to be sub-severe for the majority of these storms, but as we saw in Huntsville, as we saw down in Jackson, a strong, maybe severe storm could be possible into our Saturday. Now let's look at our strike model, and this is including those overnight hours, and I promise you this is not a data error. It is populating the futurecast, but it's not showing a ton of action overnight. I believe this. While there is an outflow boundary, it doesn't produce much overnight, and we keep it calm, clear, dry, everything you want heading into the start of your weekend. Now, towards the early hours, I think we're underdoing rain chances in this aspect. I do expect a few to try to move in right along the Mississippi River, and by the afternoon, those really start to flare up once again, and our strike model is showing that as well. We talk about the kernels popping. Well, the kernels are definitely popping on both of our models as those showers and storms begin to fire off, and whenever you get those darker returns, that's where we could get maybe a storm on the stronger side. So early afternoon remains a possibility at some of those thunderstorms to fire off, but the good thing is our strike model isn't showing a ton of organization. By mid-afternoon, it tries to have this band work in, but really with the coverage that we have, it's a good thing, and I hope this prevails. A, because we need rainfall, but B, when you have a ton of action, the energy doesn't get absorbed by one storm in particular, and it's all these storms competing, and it just ends up being a dreary day rather than a severe day. So this is a welcome sight and one that I hope will continue to maintain itself into our Saturday, but we'll continue to monitor things. With that being said, we talk about some of these storms being on the stronger side. That does include some heavier downpours. That level 1 threat for flash flooding remains a possibility for our Saturday. We saw it in Birmingham today. Where you get those showers and storms to set up, the heavy rainfall will amount to 1, 2, maybe even in some cases 2+ inches of rainfall, and that's going to cause some localized flash flooding in spots, or at least the possibility is there for that. And what this will do also is cool off these high temperatures. If we stay dry, we're low to mid-90s once again, and feels like values going to be in the triple digits. But with the rainfall, that rain-cooled air remains a possibility, and it is the perfect time to move in early afternoon to where things are not going to feel overly miserable for at least some of us on our Saturday. Now, during the overnight hours, we do expect those rain chances to dissipate out, and we're going to be much drier heading into the start of our Sunday. Your typical summer pattern, right? So by Sunday, we're not expecting a ton of action, but a few of those storms do start to move in there towards Greenville. Now, I do expect the positioning of this rainfall to be adjusted as our HRRR model just basically tries to get its act together, getting into our Sunday, just trying to align itself with the rainfall that we're getting. And because it's been a while since we've seen meaningful rainfall here in North Mississippi, so trying to get a grasp on things. And I think it does do that by our Saturday, so we'll have a better idea of those Sunday rain chances. With that being said, I do have belief that the positioning and the coverage of this is still pretty decent on our Sunday. 74 Tupelo and Amory, 75 Columbus, 73 Louisville and Macon, 74 Senatobia and Tunica, even seeing 74 towards Belzona. So it's a very mild morning. It's going to be that muggy, sticky air still lingering around for the start of our Sunday, but this will make way for some rain chances by the afternoon. Notice how I mentioned afternoon. Morning showers are possible, but the more decent coverage will build in by the afternoon hours. Again, the kernels are popping, but not as much coverage. Then that's the thing. That's the difference between Saturday and Sunday. Sunday sitting around 20%. If you saw our cruise into the weekend forecast with my son, well, that is exactly what we discussed. The better rain chances Saturday, but still some isolated chances possible by Sunday. The temperatures going to be 94 Tunica and South Haven, 94 Golden Triangle, 95 even showing up Amory and Tupelo, even down there towards Belzona, 96 in Greenville. So you get the point. It's going to be hot for our Sunday, and with limited rainfall, unfortunately, a lot of us are going to have to deal with the heat. Heat advisories probably going to be in effect through our Sunday. So our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, will have the latest on that and those heat-related concerns coming up on Mississippi Live with everything you need to know through your weekend. Forecasted rainfall Saturday, you see a lot of areas getting in excess of an inch of rainfall, and that I do believe. In some spots, I would not be shocked if we got 2 or more inches of rainfall, depending on where those heavier downpours do set up. By Sunday, the coverage starts to diminish, but some localized heavy rainfall still being indicated by our Weather Prediction Center forecasted rainfall model. So we're going to continue to monitor this, but we do expect rain chances to continue into the weekend. But Saturday, your best bet at getting some rainfall. And let me say this. I'm praying for rain. We need it. When you have vegetables or flowers, and it'll help with the watering duties, the watering responsibilities. So if you're like me and you enjoy a day not having to get the hose out and get all the plants watered, well, Saturday might be that opportunity for you. Coverage still sits around 40%, but within that 40%, some pretty decent downpours and some rumbles of thunder expected. Through midweek next week, we keep those rain chances around, so keep that rain gear around as we track that out. I do want to pull up the chat because I see that we have a lot of folks joining us tonight at 9. Happy Friday night for sure. Howdy from Atala. Jason, always appreciate you joining us for the late night shows. Deb, thank you for watching. Kim, yes, Emily doing a phenomenal job covering the news and covering a fantastic event for tomorrow. Excited to see Dancing Like the Stars. It's going to be such a fun show, and I know they've been working hard to get that together. Linda, appreciate you joining us from Yalobusha County. Kim saying, I hope it rains so much at my house that it washes the wasps away. You know, that was the cool thing about the start of the week. It was cool enough to where the bugs weren't really active. I went outside, and usually I have to encourage the dogs to get out the door so we don't let bugs in the house. Didn't have to that night. They could take their sweet time. It was cool enough that it wasn't letting the air out of the house. It was not bad, but unfortunately not not what we're getting over this 7-day stretch. Jason, yes, yeah, Cruz is definitely going to be a weather nerd for sure. I guess whether he likes it or not, his dad is in the weather business, so he's going to be exposed to it every single day, and I'll make sure that he knows that forecast and can tell his friends. Peggy, I want the rain too, so bad, love the rain. And it's perfect for the weekend because it's time to relax. So that is going to be great. It's going to be those nice showers and storms that develop that, just give you a nice pitter patter there on the roof that gives you that soothing, that calmness, and hopefully it remains below severe limits to where impacts remain pretty minimal. So as we wrap up the broadcast tonight, make sure to download that Mississippi Live Weather app. I've been talking about it all week, how you didn't necessarily need it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But as we've gone to the end of the week, I told you, go ahead and give that a download because it's going to give you those alerts for your weekend plans. And if those storms pop up where you're at, you're going to want to be the first to know, and you will with the Mississippi Live Weather app. Give that a download there on iOS and Android there with the QR codes on the bottom of your screen. And our next broadcast is going to be at 6, 9, and 10 on your Saturday with our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut. So keep it here for the very latest as we track out those storms. I will say this, if any of those get on the stronger side, we will be live as needed, but we're not expecting severe weather with our forecast this weekend. But if the ingredients line up, then that potential is there. We're looking at the latest positioning at 10 o'clock tonight, and Caleb will have the coverage through the weekend. Keep it here for the very latest, and have a wonderful weekend ahead.
For years, it's been the same formula. If it bleeds, it leads. You deserve better. We are Mississippi Live. We're focused on the stories that matter to you, to your community, to your family, because local matters. We are Mississippi Live.